Today's mini lesson is going to be about the circle of fifths, which you can see here on the screen. So basically, the circle of fifths is the anchor for all Western tonal music, which means there's a tonal center to the music, like a key center. So if you're in the key of C, and there's certain chords that go with that, that's tonal in the key of C, right? So, but you've probably seen this circle of fifths and you're like, what is it? I know Mr. Martins has it in his office um, on the board there or something, and you've seen it a lot, but you don't really know what it is. And I remember in high school, I didn't really know what it was. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of what it is, and then the next lesson is going to be a little bit longer on how to apply it and what it means in the context of music, of tonal music. So basically what the circle of fifths is you take a certain note, let's say C, because it's at the top here. Let's take our C, and then you go a fifth up from C. So remember, in my video lessons, right, we were talking about, if you guys in jazz band remember this, you start on the note and count the note, and you go count 5. So if you're at C, you're at C, D, E, F, G. That's a fifth because there's 5 notes: C, D, E, F, G. And so our G is over here, right? So that's the fifth. Now, what happens if you go a fifth from there? You go a fifth from there, G, A, B, C, and D, which is over here. This is a D. And then you go a fifth up from there, and you get A, and then E, and then B, then F sharp, C sharp, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, then back all the way through, right? So that's basically what the circle of fifths is. And it's the circle of fourths going the other way. So if you were going to go this way, it would be the circle of fourths. If you're going to go this way, it'd be the circle of fifths. So this is kind of the anchor for every Western tonal piece ever, including lots of jazz standards that have this. And in the way it works is it establishes that tonic dominant relationship also. So in Western music, the tonic dominant relationship is something that's really, really important, and I'll make a separate video on that. But if you have your G to C, if you have a G major chord to a C major chord, that's a 5-to-1 relationship. And that's what establishes, basically what establishes the tonic, what your note is. And you can hear it when you hear like a G major chord and then a C major chord. You can, if you hear the G major chord in the context of C, you're supposed to be able to hear it go back to C. And that's the tonic dominant relationship. And there's a chart here. Maybe I'll print that out of all the tonic chords and stuff. But for right now, that's what the circle of fifths is. It's just take a note and go a fifth above that, a fifth above that, and just keep going around, and it ends up being the same, right? So that's the little mini lesson on that, and I'll come at you with another one in just a moment. All right, so this next little mini lesson is going to be about the diatonic chords in major tonality. And so we might go over minor tonality, but I think we're just going to touch on major tonality because this one and all these little mini lessons I'm doing right now are in preparation to understand the 2-5-1 progression, which is the most important progression in all of music ever. So with all these diatonic chords, this is in the key of C again, just like we were doing with the circle of fifths over here. So we've got our C. So again, these triads are just, you count a third from the root note and then a third above that again. So, right, your C major chord is just stacked triads C, E, and G. And that's easy. That's just the major chord. And that is Roman numeral 1. I'm going to see if I can write that on the top here. Roman numeral 1, right? Or actually, it's this guy. So the way we do Roman numerals in this is that it's just called the 1 chord because it's based on the first degree of the scale, right, which is C. And the Roman numerals, uppercase indicates major, lowercase indicates minor. Okay, so this is 1 major. So that's why that's one of these. So now the next note, you go up from the scale, C and then D. So stack triads on D, that's D, F natural, and A, which is a minor chord. Why is it a minor chord, jazz band kids? Because the third is flat, or is lowered a half a step, right? So if it would be D major, it would be F sharp. But since there's no F sharp in the key signature, it's F natural, therefore it's D minor, right? Remember the way that you construct it, right? In a minor chord, you go up a minor third and then a major third. So that is the 2. That's the 2 chord because it's based off the second degree of the scale. That's a 2. So let's write up here 2. Again, that's lowercase because it is minor. So now the 3 chord, which isn't used all that often because it basically just functions like it sounds too much like a 1 major 7 chord, so it's hardly really used that much. Why it sounds like a 1 major 7 is because you've got the B natural on the top, and if you just put the C at the bottom, you've got 1 chord again. But with this, it's a minor chord again because E minor, and then you go up within the scale in thirds. So that's G and B natural. That's a minor chord. So that is the 3. And that kind of looks like that. Ugh, so bad at this. There we go. That's 3. So now we get to the 4 chord. The 4 chord is based off the 4th degree of the scale, which is F. Then you go up triads in the key signature from F. So it's F, A natural, and C, which is F major. So that's why this one looks like this. Oh my God. I'm sorry. This is such a horrible, horrible way to do this, but here I'm going anyway. 4. Okay, looks sort of like that. That's the 4 chord. And so usually these would be on the bottom, but I put them on the top because these are on the bottom. So now we got G, G major. So this is the 5 chord. And the 5 chord is special because that is that dominant Teutonic relationship I was talking about in the circle of fifths, right? Here's that tonic dominant right here, right? And so we've got it here, and it looks like this, G to C. That is, again, on the 5th degree of the scale, up thirds in the key signature, so that's a 5 chord. Now the 6th chord is the relative minor of C. So I'm sure you guys know about that. Relative minor is basically just the minor key that is in the major key, right? So C major and A minor have the same key signature, therefore it's a relative minor. And so that one, you do that one the same way, right? It's the 6 because it's the 6th degree of the scale. Ugh. Why am I so bad at this? There you go. That is the 6. Again, minor because it's lowercase, so it's minor. Last one is the B diminished chord. Now that one is a little bit different because if you go up thirds in the key signature from B, you get a diminished chord, which is actually 2 minor thirds stacked on top of one another. But that one, you would just go from B, and then a third in the key signature is D, and a third key signature is F. Again, this one isn't used all that much because it basically is a 5-7 chord without the root, just like the 3 chord is basically a C major 7 chord without the root. And in all honesty, in order to understand, to be able to hear what the chord quality is, you barely even need the root anyway, which is so weird, but that's how it works. Because your ear just understands what those sounds sound like, even if you don't have the actual root in it. But for our purposes, we will mark this. So this one is still lowercase, and it looks like this. And then with the diminished sign is a circle, like that. Well, not as disgusting looking as that, but basically that's what that looks like. So there you have it. There are your diatonic chords, and the key is C major. And again, this is all coming back to, we're going to work on our 2-5-1s. And so if we want to, just as a preview, look at our circle of fifths sheet over here. So our 2-5-1 in C is basically these three right here, right? You would, if you were to have a 2-5-1, it would be D, G, and then C. So you'd be running backwards like this towards the tonic, C. And so that's kind of why that sonically sounds resolved, because you're going along the circle of fifths, which our ears like the circle of fifths. But in relation to this, you go D minor, and then all the way to G, and then all the way back over here to C. That's our 2-5-1. And I'll get into why that works in the next lesson. So see you there. Now that we've looked at our circle of fifths and diatonic chord sheets, now let's go ahead and see how you would write a 2-5-1 on the staff and see what it looks like. So let's fill in our chords. We're going to be in C major, just like we have been. So let's fill in our chord. This is going to be D minor. This is going to be G, and it's going to be C. So let's go ahead and fill in our notes, whole notes. So we start on D minor. So where's our root? Our root's going to be down here. D. Then what? F natural, right? Because it's a D minor and then A. So now let's go ahead and fill in our G. Excuse me, sorry. Start on G. Go up to B natural. Go up to D. Go up to D. There it is. There's our D minor, G minor, and then C. Let's just put it up here. C, E, and G. Right? It's all stacked thirds. And that's basically what it would sort of look like. So let's, just for the sake of clarity, let's add in our seventh chords, just because we should know those by now. So our D minor 7 includes a C natural at the top, right? Because it's a minor 7, so it's just in the key signature, stacked thirds, and an extension up there at the top. And our G7, like that. And our C major 7 with the B natural on top. Right. And so that's what that kind of looks like. So let me just give you a little bit of some advanced tips on the voice leading that happens here normally. So the biggest two notes that you really want to think about when you are looking at this are specifically in this chord here, this G7 chord here. You want to look at the third and the seventh of that chord. Remember, with my seventh chord lesson, how the third and the seventh are what determine the quality of the chord, and in this case, those do something very special. So let's just go over here and write out this, the third and the seventh over here. So we've got that, and we've got that. So Pretty much every time you see that, and if you play those notes, let's say you're soloing over this 2/5, you want to emphasize these what these are kind of called guide tones when you're soloing. This is called the leading tone, the B right there. Then that's like a secondary guide tone right there. So the way these voice lead is that the third of a seventh chord, dominant seventh chord, always resolves up a half a step. So a half step from B natural is C natural, which that's where how you get that B to C, that nice leading tone to tonic resolution. And then the fourth or the seventh always does that. It resolves down a half step to a third, so it kind of goes like that. And so that those things are really important. That's just a little bit of extra knowledge that you would have to be able to maybe solo over these or just kind of understand why they work. So that is basically what the 2-5-1 progression basically is. Now it's used in the context of the ends of phrases. They're called cadences, which are the ends of phrases. There are half cadences, there are full cadences, and all that, which I could get into. But basically, this just signals the end. This is usually the end of a phrase or something, and that's how you. That's what the cadence is. It's just the end of a phrase. Like if you have a 32 bar form, it's the ends of the 8 bar phrases usually end in some kind of a 2-5-1. So there you have it. That's basically what a 2-5-1 is. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more you can do with it, but that's the basic idea. It's used in cadences at the ends of phrases, and this is the primary voice leading technique that is used to kind of create that tension and resolution in the sound. So if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you.